In the late 1920s and throughout the 1930s, there was a trio of aerodromes immediately to the west of London. Hanworth was the oldest of the three, having opened during the First World War. A certain yellow Aeronca, very much the mascot of this channel, was assembled and first flown at Hanworth in May 1936. Heathrow Aerodrome, also known as Harmondsworth and sometimes referred to as the Great West Aerodrome, was owned by the Fairey Aviation Company and used for the assembly and test flying of aircraft built in their nearby factory at Hayes. The aerodrome site was requisitioned in 1944, leading to a 20-year-long legal battle between Sir Richard Fairey and the British government. It was developed into the monster we now know as London Heathrow Airport. Heston, the most northerly of the three aerodromes, opened in 1929. It was developed and constructed by Airwork Limited, a company set up by Nigel Norman and Alan Muntz. Hanworth and Heston were eventually lost to post-war development, but all three aerodromes, along with several others lost around the London area, will be the subject of future films on this channel. However, today's film starts off with Nigel Norman's sister, Rosalind. Rosalind Norman was the only daughter of Sir Henry Norman, Baronet. All four of Sir Henry Norman's children learned to fly, Rosalind gaining her licence on a Gypsy Moth at Heston in 1932. Shortly afterwards, she became the second woman in Britain to be qualified to fly autogyros. As well as flying aircraft, Rosalind was a keen and skilled woodworker and spent her time making models of them. In 1934, she set up the Model Transport Company Limited to supply model aircraft and dioramas to industry and individuals alike. Her business partner was Henry Niven, brother of the actor David. The company was appointed official model makers for the de Havilland Aircraft Company and the Avro Company, based in Manchester. KLM, Swiss Air and Imperial Airways all commissioned dozens of models of their current airliner types. These were finished at a workshop at Heston Airfield and overseen by Mr. Victor Woodason, who was employed to run the workshop. In 1934, Rosalind bought her own aircraft, a Robinson Redwing, seen here, which she kept at Heston Aerodrome. In 1936, Rosalind married Aubrey Burke, then service manager for Airwork Limited at Heston. As well as raising four children, Rosalind and Aubrey both worked in aircraft production during the Second World War. In the 1950s, Aubrey Burke became managing director of de Havilland, and in 1959 he was knighted. He finished his career as vice chairman of Hawker Siddeley. Sir Aubrey died in 1988, and Lady Rosalind died in 1994. She was 86. The Model Transport Company was wound up in the spring of 1936. Immediately a new company was formed by Victor Woodason, foreman of the old. Woodason Aircraft Models was based in the same workshop as before, provided rent-free by Airwork Limited. Like Rosalind, Victor Woodason had started making models as a hobby. This is a Bristol fighter he made around 1927. As with the previous company, several manufacturers and airlines appointed Woodason Aircraft Models as their official model makers, and the order books were full. It wasn't just industry that was impressed with Mr. Woodason's model-making skills. Many museums commissioned models in various sizes of various different aircraft. Many are still on display to this day. At the outbreak of the Second World War, Woodason Aircraft Models started supplying models of service types, both Allied and Axis, for educational and identification purposes. A new customer was the film industry, which had started making morale-boosting films to aid the war effort. This magnificent Junkers 88 model was used in the film In Which We Serve. The scene in which it appears is surprisingly realistic and puts many more modern productions to shame.
out of that cover. Try and get 2 next time.
A Wellington bomber model, B for Bertie, was supplied for the film One of Our Aircraft is Missing. A spoiler alert for you chaps, the crew had already bailed out over the Netherlands. Both these films are available to watch on YouTube. In 1940, the Woodason family moved to Grange Farm at the eastern end of Heston Aerodrome. Most of the ground floor was converted to workshops, with the Woodasons living above. But in February 1945, tragedy occurred. Lieutenant Gaston Riggs of the United States Army Air Corps had already completed 28 missions as a B-17 captain over Europe. He'd been reassigned to fighters, and while flying over London on a training flight from Foulmere, just west of Duxford in Cambridgeshire, experienced catastrophic engine failure in his P-51B Mustang. Not wishing to bail out over London, Riggs steered his crippled aircraft towards Heston. He nearly made it, but his right-hand wingtip clipped Grange Farm House. Riggs was alive when they pulled him out of the wreckage, but he died shortly afterwards. Woodason aircraft models moved back into a workshop on Heston Aerodrome, and work continued. In 1949, they made 6 Wellington bomber models for a film version of the Neville Shute book Landfall. Manufacturers continued to commission new models, and sometimes old models came back for refurbishment. This is the short Mayo composite from 1938. Once complete, it was mounted on a trailer and entered in the 1948 Heston Carnival, towed by Woodason's electric-powered Armstrong Siddeley motorcar that he'd constructed pre-war. Not all Woodason's work was for the aero industry. Scammell commissioned 350 models of their latest articulated lorry for dealers to demonstrate the new fifth-wheel trailer arrangement to potential new customers. In 1950, Woodason aircraft models moved off of Heston Aerodrome for the last time, relocating to 604 London Road. By this time, Victor Woodason was in ill health, and he spent long periods of time not working. This handy Peugeot 400 model was probably the last large-scale model he built. Victor Woodason died in 1964, aged 60. In 1943, Victor Woodason had written a book. It was reprinted in 1978 and seen here. Copies are easily found via the internet. Occasionally his models come up for auction. This fine copy of the de Havilland Comet Grosvenor House, winner of the 1934 Robertson Air Race, sold recently for £800. Thank you for watching.